What is up, guys? Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about Garwood. So today we are going to show you some of the battle testings in here that we have done. What can you do with Garwood, and what talent trees and pairs can you really work on? If you use Garwood correctly, he is going to be very deadly. And he has a secret talent here that can change the whole dynamics of the troop system. Do you guys know what it is? We're going to talk about that here today in this video. So my best advice for you guys when you guys work on Garwood is to max out the first skill. As you guys can see, I didn't max out first skill of Garwood. Shame on me. But this is when I first got the hero and I didn't know that there wasn't going to be a skill lock system. But then I just started opening things. But I was lucky enough to manage to randomize these skills in here. And I was able to get at least number 4 onto the first skill of Garwood. But I really recommend to get this first skill into 5 and max it out first. And as you can see, you're going to get 1200 healing factor from the first skill of Garwood, and then you get damage taken reduction by 20%, which is really good. Reducing all damage taken, that's huge. That allows you to stay in the battlefield longer. The question is, if and only if you can cast this skill. So if you're running with infantry, you're charging in, everybody's targeting you, for the most part it's very hard to get that skill to proc. But in defense, you will be able to use it and it will proc. Another thing to mention in here as well, what if you use Garwood not just with infantry, but you use it with marksman, you use it with mage? How effective will that be and allow you to stay in the battlefield longer with that healing capability? We're going to discuss that here today. Now, the second skill will increase HP units of the garrison army. So you have to be in a structure, either your base or the pass. It's a stronghold when you're in the pass. So if you click this information, buildings that can be garrisoned by multiple legions such as passes. So you will get 10% HP for all the units. It's not just going to be for infantry, right? So every troops that you have gains that 10% bonus, which is significant in my opinion. But you don't really need this skill in the open field. Now, third skill in here, increase defense of all infantry units in this legion by 20% and all healing they grant or receive by 30%. Now, the first part is about infantry. So that's going to buff the infantry. But the second part, it works with any legions that are in there. As long as you're getting healing, you're getting extra 30% bonus. And at the same time, if somebody heals you, so let's say maybe you use your Tears of Arbon, that's also healing receive, it will increase it by 30%. So the fourth skill here has a 75% chance to increase physical damage dealt by 30% when healed. So you can see physical damage. So when we talked about earlier about running it with either with the mage or the marksman, I mainly run with mage. So I can only show you in the mage perspective in here. It will work, but you're not going to get this physical damage bonus because mage are magic damage. But imagine if you actually use marksman. So in the video that we're going to talk about in here, I'm going to show you mage though. But imagine if you're using marksman, you are going to get way more benefit out of this, because they are going to be physical damage dealt. Now, you can also then consider cavalry units, maybe the elk riders or the normal cabs, right? So think about that, because they are going to be dealing physical damages. Now, the last skill here, the awakened skill, it will increase basically the lightly wounded units of Garwood's Legion to 1400. So basically from 1200 in here becomes to 1400, and reducing all damage taken for 6 seconds instead of 4 seconds. So that's kind of straightforward in here. So anyway, this is the skill review part. Let's move into the talent review. All right, so here's some of the talent that the system has given us in here. You can see this is a decent pat, this infantry pat in here. Now, the issue with this talent trait that they've given, it lacks the mobility. And I think in the, in Call of Dragons, mobility plays a big factor in the game. You can also go for a tank build. You can just pretty much copy what they have in here, which is a very, very nice approach, honestly. Although, I would really recommend what I have in here. So, this is what I have. This is what I made. You can see we have some marching speed in here. We need some mobility within the game. Now, I didn't add this first part because you can just get the next ones in here anyway further along the road. Now, the biggest reason, because in the early stage, you want to have a little bit of defense trying to fight those darklings whenever you first get Garwood to work on. Then you start working on some marching speed so that you can, when you get into the battlefield, you want to be able to touch the enemy, because if you don't touch the enemy, you're not really going to cast that rage skill fast, because you're not going to deal a normal attack to generate the rage. So you want to get in up close so that you can continuously use your healing effectively. And then you can see in these other builds, they did not really focus on adding into increasing healing. We want to increase healing for Garwood. So as you can see with my setup in here, we focus mainly a lot into healing. How do I get more healing? How do I enhance my healing? And we also add, counterattack damage. So basically, whenever you're getting hit, how do you counter the opponent? So those are some of the very big importance to understand when you're looking into Garwood's talent, systems in here. All right. So this is my build for Garrison. So I'm going to show you the comparison of what they've done in the system in here. So with the system, they have worked on this, as you can see. They have even added this here in the system. When serving as the Garrison captain, Garrison army deals 10% more hero skill damage. Does that even factor in? Look, you don't do skill damage for Garwood. So don't be blind sometime when you're trying to look at the recommendation from the system, because it's kind of dumb. You don't want that. So I made you guys here a, full Garrison tree. All right. This is 100% Garrison effective. It focuses on enhancing the Garrison armies for Garwood. Now, the biggest factor, the hidden thing that I want to tell you guys in here is the fair defense. Now, I don't know if many people have talked about this already in their videos, but the fair defense is very interesting. As you can see, while serving as a Garrison captain, you can force enemies' rallied army into a fair fight. Do you guys know what fair fight means? In a fair fight, all unit skills are disabled. Now, that's going to be very interesting, right? And the attributes of infantry, cavalry, marksmen, and magic units of the same level will be adjusted to the same value. So basically, for simplicity, when you go into your base in here, all right, I actually asked the customer support, like, what is this supposed to mean? So basically, if you get attacked by, let's say, Archer, and you see that you have these, skills, so these skills will not take effect. You can see increases physical attack by 5%. That's not going to work. By reading that skill of Garwood, it basically disarms those specific unit skills, disabling the attributes of infantry, cavalry, marksmen, and magic units of the same level will be adjusted to the same value. So it's just going to be a fair battle in here. They're not going to get, actually, it's not even fair. They're not going to get the value, but you are still, doing those value when they are attacking you. So this fair defense is crucial if you are going to be using Garwood as your defense in the game. Now, one thing that I will tell you that is so good about this game is that with this game, it really benefits a lot for the Garrison. Keep in mind, though, the healing is really good about this game. When you're getting rallied on your city and you're getting attacked, or maybe somebody's swarming you, your situation in defending, you will get 10% of severely wounded units will die. And then 50% of the enemy severely wounded units will die. So it's like, 1-to-5 ratio, which is really good. Now, if you look into the past, though, it's a bit different role. You're going to consume more. If you're defending, you're going to get 35% of your severely wounded will die, rather than 10% if you're in the city. So just imagine that still. The defender still is in favor of having less losses in comparison to the attacker. So it's crucial to have a good defense. Now, if Garwood has this healing, I don't see it actually so bad if you actually have good tech and good, a good secondary commander to pair up with Garwood. Because again, if you drag the battlefield in here, if you drag the battle, you could potentially, consume more deads of your enemy, not your deads, because you're only getting 10%. You may have to heal a lot more, but you can inflict more deaths to the enemy by using Garwood. Now, one thing that I will tell you as well within the talent of Garwood that we have added in here is that a lot of people that I saw will try to swarm because they're kind of silly. They'll swarm you. So this is one thing. Where is this? This is there is one in here that will prevent from swarming. Here's a talent here. Flank protection. Your legion takes 75% less bonus damage from being surrounded. Huge. If all these players attacking you, they get the surround bonus, you can lessen that 75%. It will kind of like make them weaker, so their damage is not going to be so hard. So in my opinion, I think Garwood is an, when I first started playing the game, I was like, coming from Rise of Kingdoms, no, you don't want to use something like Garwood into defense, but I think he's okay in defense after seeing some battle reports, although most of the time that we see the battles that they look really bad is because whales are rallying free to play with Garwood. Just for example, like this video is something like that. But if Garwood is actually used by a whale to whale, I think Garwood will sustain and succeed. And one thing to mention is that think about Roots of War. Using Garwood in Roots of War in your defense is very helpful because you can fight longer in the battlefield with Garwood's healing capability. That's one thing to mention. All right, so let's talk about artifact. One of my favorite here is the Dragon Scale Armor. It will increase Legion's HP and the infantry's HP. So if you're running with infantry, right, you're using it, you want to use this. And you're getting some shield as well. You want to work on not on damage. You don't really want to work on Dragon's Rift with Garwood. You want to work on something that will, allow you to be a tank in the battlefield, like maybe a Fang of Ashkari. Like this is very tanky, and then yeah, you can use your artifact skill to do some damage once you get into the close range. But the main point in here is that you're gonna be a solid tank. There's also the Greymar's Hammer. Basically, this is going to give you some defense as well. I haven't used this yet, but it has ability to stun, so you can get out. But here's the thing, though. When I think about Garwood, you're going to march in there in the open field. You're pretty much sacrificing yourself because you're going to be the tank for everybody. Another thing that I want to say is that if you have Tears of Arbon, you can definitely try to heal Garwood as well. So, you can also use, just with looking into this image in here and this picture, just by looking at this video in here, you can see there's Mage trying to heal Garwood. So that's also a factor that you can do. Now let's talk about pairing, and I'm also going to talk about unconventional pairings in here. So, of course, for the most part, we already know for like epic scenarios in here, you can do the Eliana and Garwood setup. That's a good setup in here. I don't really use it, but a lot of people use the Garwood Eliana. You can also use the Bakar and Garwood. Those are, straightforward pairs and matches in here. Now, with the legendary, of course, you can do Nika, Garwood, which I do Nika and Garwood, but I think it will be better if you have a Madeline and then you can pair it up with Garwood. But of course, this is going to be a tank situation. All right, tank-based setup. Now, I want to talk about like unconventional setup in here. Now, keep in mind that this is physical damage dealt. So what if you have a extra marksman? I'm not telling you to put this on your main marksman, okay? Well, technically you could, potentially. But let's say you have a lot of marksman unit and you want a marksman to live longer into the battlefield. Then you can use like maybe Nico with Garwood, Kinara, Garwood, Syndrion, Garwood, Kinara, Gwanwyn, Craig. These options you can do. Where is Freygar? Even Freygar if you want. If you don't pair Freygar in a flying unit. Of course, I would say Freygar with Thea would be better. But I'm just saying, if you have an extra march there that you can use Garwood because you'll have that healing capability, allows you to stay longer into that battlefield. Just keep that in mind. I'll show you a video here with the mage that I tried doing for example purposes. Because what I did is that I have, Lilia in here. We did Lilia with Garwood just to test things out, just to work onto the healing part. And then I ran another scenario to where mocking a real battle when, somebody is tanking for me. And then I use a Valine and Garwood and trying to mainly try to steal the rage from the enemy. 10% chance to steal the rage so that I can heal faster and I can stay longer into the battlefield. The main goal of this is not about dealing a whole lot of damage, but the main goal of this unconventional pairing is to, how do I sustain longer? And strategically, we have to be a bit creative, right? We can't just play everything straightforward. How can I sustain longer in the battlefield to where I can deal more damage long term? in the long run. So that's what I was thinking. I might try some unconventional setups in the next, battle that we get into, and just to test things out and see how things work. Because I like the range capability, because with Garwood, even though, he is a melee unit, this will take effect because this doesn't require you to be near an enemy. For example, if you go into Nika, this has to be an attack range of melee. If you go into Lilia, this attack range needs to be very far. When you go into Garwood, this attack range has nothing. So, well, this video is probably a bit interesting for many of you guys. Maybe some of them you didn't think about yet. Maybe you guys have tried them, you didn't like them, let me know. Or maybe you've tried them, you like them. But I like to try to think outside the box in here and see what else we can do with all the commander pairings within the game. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys again next time. Hopefully you guys like this, and smash like onto the video, and let us know where you are from, what country do you belong, and what server you are in. Anyway, peace out.